Good day, everyone. My name is Karina Amor H. Villa, and I will be your teacher for the day. Um, our lesson for today will be about solving quadratic equation. Now, I'm aware that you guys have already been taught about solving quadratic equations using the method of, what are those again? Exactly. Those are the extracting square root, the factoring method, and lastly, you guys were taught about the solving quadratic equation by completing the square. Now, in our next lesson, it will be about solving quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. But of course, before we begin our lesson, let us have a short prayer. Okay, for those who can, please bow down your heads and feel the presence of the Lord. Okay, moving on. Now, please prepare all of the requirements that are needed for this discussion. Your pen and paper, your calculator, and lastly, the copy of our module for the day. Okay, next slide. Once again, here is our title and also our lesson. Solving quadratic equation using the quadratic formula. Next slide. Here are the learning objectives. Please read. Okay, thank you very much. Next slide. Now, before we begin our lesson, let us have a short drill to assess how much you guys know about quadratic equation. Okay, I will be calling out, okay, for number 1. Yes? Good. That is 9. Y is equal to 9. Now, for number 2, that will be exactly. That is equals to 7. And now for number 3. Exactly. That is equals to 17. Number 4. Correct. That is equals to 14. And then our last number. Exactly. That is equals to 13. Let us now have our second drill. Now, it says that we need to write the following equation in standard form. And what is the standard form? Exactly. That is the ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. And of course, it also states that we have to identify the value of a, b, and c. Now, what is the answer for number 1? Good. The standard form for number 1 shall be 2x squared plus 9x minus 10 equals to 0. Okay, for number 2? Very good. For number 2, the answer shall be 2x minus 6x plus 1 equals to 0. Now, some of you might be wondering, Ma'am, why can't we just transpose the 2x? It's because we can't have a negative leading coefficient. Of course. Okay, next one. Very good. That will be x squared plus 16x plus 48 equals to 0. Okay? Next one. Very good. That will be 3x squared plus 4x minus 7 equals to 0. Of course. Okay, next one. Very good. The answer is 3x squared minus 30x plus 85 equals to 0. Now, since we've already used the equation and of course write it in the standard form, we now have to figure out the value of a, b, and c. Now, for number 1, what is the value of a, b, and c? Exactly. The value for a, b, and c is 2 for a, 9 is for b, and negative 10 for c. Now, for number 2, what is the value of a, b, and c? Very good. The value of a, b, and c for number 2 is 2, of course. And then we have negative 6. And then lastly, our value for c is 1. Now, for number 3, what is the value of a, b, and c? Wonderful. The value for a is 1, of course. And the value for B is 16. Lastly, the value of C is 48. Now let's move on to number 4. Perfect! Our value for A for number 4 is 3. Value for B is 4. And then our value for C is -7. And last but not the least, our number 5. What is the value of A, B, and C? Bravo! For letter A, our value of for number 5, our value of A is 3. For letter B, for number 5 letter B, our value for B is, of course, -30. And for the value of C, we have 85. Okay, give yourself a round of applause. From the given example, how do you think the quadratic equations are solved using the quadratic formula? Exactly. That is through the method called substitution. Now let us now move forward. Okay. Now here is our quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is negative b plus and minus sign b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Okay. Now since the process that we'll be using is the substitution method, the first thing we need to do is find the value of A, B, and C and substitute it to the given formula. Okay, let's use this equation. We have 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals 0. What do you think are the values of A, B, and C? Exactly. The value for A is equal to 2, the value of B is 3, and the value of C is equal to -2. And like we've mentioned earlier, the process that we'll only be using to solve the quadratic equation is by substitution. Okay, now let's substitute the value of A, B, and C to the equation. So x is equal to, of course, negative b is -3 plus and minus sign, square root of our b squared, 3 squared, of course, minus 4 times the value of A is 2, and then the value of C is -2. Of course, all over 2 times the value of A, which is 2. Now, let's multiply this. What do you think should be our next step? Okay, we can do that. Okay. First, we need to only copy or bring down the -3. Then we have the plus and minus sign. And your classmates have mentioned we should solve for the 3 square. And what is the value of 3 square? Exactly. 3 square is equal to 9. Minus, now, what is 4 times 2 times -2? Wonderful answer. That will be, of course, this 2 times -2 is equal to -4. And -4 times 4 is equal to -16. And of course, negative times negative, that will be, 9 plus 16. And let's solve for the denominator. 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Now, what's the next step? Very good. Let's now add the 9 plus 16. Okay, let's copy -3 plus and minus sign. 9 plus 16. That is 25. Okay. Now, what do you think is the square root of 25? That is 5. Okay, so now we bring down -3. Our sign is plus and minus sign. 5 over 4. Okay, I have 4 here too. Sorry. Okay, now, since it's a plus and minus sign, which means we have an equation for -3 minus 5 over 4. And we also have a value for x, that the equation is -3 plus 5 over 4. Now, -3 minus 5 over 4, that is equal to negative 2. And then of course, negative 3 plus 5 is equal to 2. 2 over 4, x will be equal to 1 half. Did you get that? Give yourself a round of applause for your active participation. Are we sure these are the given that we're looking for? What do you think the next step that we should do? Wonderful! That is, of course, to verify. And how do we verify these given answer? Bravo! That is by substituting our solved answer to our equation earlier. And our equation earlier, that is, yes? Very good. That is 2x squared plus 3x minus 2 equals to 0. And of course, like we said earlier, we need to use the process called substitution method. Let's start first with negative 2. Of course, 2 times negative 2 squared plus 3 times negative 2 minus 2 equals to 0. Now, what is 2 times negative 2 raised to 2? Very good. That will be equal to 8. Plus, what is 3 times negative 2? That will be negative 6. So let's change the sign. Let's use minus 6. And of course, let's just copy negative 2 equals to 0. Now, what will be the answer if we add 8 to the, or by the negative 6 and also by negative 2? What will be the answer? Wonderful. That will be equals to 0. So we can conclude that x equals to negative 2 is the answer that we're looking for. But how about 1 half? Okay, let's substitute it to the value to our given. Now, okay. Okay, 2 times 1 half squared plus 3 times 1 half minus 2 equals to 0. Now, what is 2 times 1 half raised to 2? That is equals to 1 half. How about 3 times 1 half? Okay, now try to subtract it by 2. Very good. That will now be minus 1 half. Now equals to 0. And 1 half minus 1 half is equal to 0. Okay, so we can conclude that this answer is the correct answer, or the x that we're looking for. Now, since everyone here already knows how to solve quadratic equation using the quadratic formula, it is now time for us to assess whether you guys have fully mastered or fully understood this lesson by solving this quiz. Okay, make sure to finish your answer by 15 minutes, or should I use 10 minutes? Okay, let's use 15 minutes of your time. Very good. I see that everybody is already done with their quiz. Now, let's end our discussion with this assignment that you need to submit, of course, in your Google Classroom. Okay, here are the assignment, and of course, that is all. Thank you for listening, and I hope you learn how to solve quadratic equation using quadratic formula. Goodbye.